I was gifted a few spalted grapefruit logs, and so I thought I would take one of them and turn a lidded box for the couple that gave them to me. So that's what we're going to do today. I've never turned grapefruit. I have some orange out there that I haven't turned yet either. Without further ado, oh yes, and the vacation was great. We loved the cruise, both of them. Did the Alaska cruise and then stayed on the ship and went through the Panama Canal. You'll see those videos coming up in a few weeks on my Messyllaneous channel. So stay tuned for notifications for that. Again, spalted grapefruit, my lidded box. I don't know what shape I'm going to use yet, but let's just see what the log tells me it wants to be. Okay, got my face shield on, so let's get to it. About 850 RPM. I don't want to take real big cuts. I want to try to be light. Just trying to get it round for now. And it's very dry. I don't know how long it's been cut, but it is really dry. It's very dry. Almost. See the spalting? This may turn out being really pretty. I also want to stabilize all these cracks that I can. I don't want them to getting any bigger. I just, as dry as it is, I don't think it will, but I'm going to use this Deft lacquer-based sanding sealer. I'm going to let this sit for a little while. I want it to cure a good few hours before I fill those cracks. When I can get that done, I'll come back. Okay, I think I've got them stabilized. So I'm going to, this can have some pretty figure in it. I'm going to let this set. I used medium, and I want to make sure that it gets good and dry before I turn it anymore. So I'm going to leave this sit a few hours and then I'll come back. I've got this turned back smooth. It's just clear CA, but it looks dark, so that's good. I don't think it's going to go all the way through. Now what I want to do, I'm going to take my banana tool and I'm going to flatten off the top and the bottom, and then I'll figure out what kind of shape I want. And I'll use it to make my tenon on each side. That'll work. Yep. Got the dovetails on it. Now I want to come up with what shape I want, what I want top and bottom. I'm thinking I want to do a pedestal box, so I'll leave about this much for the lid since there's a hole there. About that deep. Yeah, I got a tool mark there. A little bit of tear out in here, but not too much. That'll sand out. I do need to get rid of that tool mark though. Alright, that'll work. That'll all stand up. Now I'll refine this shape just a little. Very nice. Okay, I like that overall shape. I need to take that down a little bit. It's too wide. It just looks awkward. Wow, I can't do anything today. I don't think I need to start at 80. If at first you don't succeed, give it to Billy. He'll screw it up. Let me go collect myself and calm down a little bit before I start this sanding. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, that's 600. Don't let anybody tell you that if you're sanding past 320 or something that all you're doing is burnishing the wood. See that? See the dust? It's cutting. It's not burnishing. Not if you have good sandpaper. And that, folks, as smooth as a proverbial baby's bottom. Absolutely lovely. I bought some new sanding sealer. I'm not sure if I'm going to like it. It takes an hour to dry. I have a feeling it's water-based. It's white. It's made by Versatility, and it says it works with oil or water-based finishes. That's probably the same as it's really weird. The light just mentions that. I think we're warning that. So now we wait an hour for this to dry and I'll come back. Okay, now we'll part this off. And I'll take it off the rest of the way with a saw. Maybe. Work this in. Okay. I'm going to use Minwax antique oil on this. And it'll give it a real nice shine. Tomorrow I'll put another coat on. I'll probably put 3 or 4 coats on. This is going to take a while because I want this piece to be that pretty and I don't want to rush it. Now we'll let it dry. And then we'll come back tomorrow and I'll put another coat on, and when I'm satisfied with what I've got on it, I'll hollow it out. I'm not sure what happened. I'm missing a file. I also don't know why my audio got disabled, but I went and checked the system when I realized that I had no sound, and sure enough, my audio was disabled. So I'm going to hollow this out and try not to spend too much time doing it, but I'm going to cheat in the process. I'm going to, that end grain was fighting me like crazy, so I decided to go ahead and drill it out with my Forstner bits, and then I'll finish hollowing. I did the bulk of the hollowing with my homemade Olin tool. I hollowed that out the best I could. It wasn't cutting nice, that end grain. So I switched to my homemade Olin tool, and then I used this nice cutter with a pro tip on it from Jimmy Clues. And so I'm going to sand this starting at 80. So that's what it's going to look like. And I think it'll clean up okay. It's going to take a while though. So when I get this sanded, I'm going to sand the inside to 600, put some sanding sealer in it, and hit it with axe, just like before. Put some sanding sealer on it. I'll let that dry, maybe an hour or so. Then I'll come back and we will do axe on the inside. Okay, so the inside is sanded, and I've got 1 coat of Minwax antique oil in here. I've got 2 coats on the outside. I've buffed it back with a white Scotch Brite. Now it's time to hit it with some Hampshire Sheen. It doesn't take much of this stuff. We'll let that dry for a few minutes, and then I'll turn it on and we will buff it. Okay, it's been a few minutes. Let's buff this out. Oh yeah, that's nice. Beautiful. Okay, now I can take this out of the chuck, put the lid in, and we'll see if we can get it turned. I'll be right back. Okay, I've got it mounted. I've got it measured out here roughly how close we are. Nope, I still need to come out a little bit more. That is the kind of fit I want, and the grain lines up nicely. What I'm doing is I'm checking to see if I can get these jaws in here. They're just too big so that I can grip this and turn it around and finish the top. So what I'll have to do is rough shape the top as best I can. So I'm going to do the bottom, then I'll change camera angles and we'll start there. I'm just going to go with a slight dome in here. Okay, I'm going to sand this inside up starting at 80, and then I got something special in mind for in there. Okay, I've got that sanded to 180 on the inside. Okay, that's better than it was. So, we will call that good. Okay, that's 180 again. I'm going to put some sanding sealer on this in a minute. Right now what I want to do, change views and work on this some. Okay, what I want to do now is work this down a little bit. Put my spindle gouge on. And that's about all I'm going to do from this side. Now what I need to do is sand this up. Now I'm going to put some sanding sealer on it. Now I'll give that about an hour to dry, and when I come back I'll knock it back with a Scotch-Brite, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do in here. Okay, we'll let that dry for a little while and then we'll buff it up. Okay, I've got one coat of Wax antique oil on it. I use gold embellishing wax. I'll let this dry overnight. We'll come back and see if I need another coat. Probably will put another one on. I found this really pretty piece of oak. It's live oak, and I'm going to make a finial out of this. It's a pretty small finial, but make a finial for that box. I'm going to put a 3/8 inch. That's it. Perfect. Now because that's so small, when I turn it around I'm going to have to be very, very careful. Undercutting that just a little bit. This is going to be more of an icicle finial. Broke off a little quicker than I wanted it to, but that's alright. It was going to be that short anyway. I think I'm going to sand the point on there because the grain is just going in too many directions. So that's the way this is going to go, and when I get it, I'm going to sand it up to 600. When I get it all sanded up, I'll come back. Okay, it's sanded to 600. I'm applying some sanding sealer. Give it a little bit to dry, and then I'll come back, knock it back with 600 and put some finish on it. Alright, let's get some finish on here. And look how pretty that live oak is. I want to make sure I get that oil in all of those pores. Got some pretty cool chatoyance, and you can see all the fleck. Now I'll let that dry overnight. If I need to put another coat on, I will. Now it's time for a little Hampshire sheen. I'll let that dry a little and we'll come back and buff it up. Alright, let's go. Oh yeah, that's nice. And we'll bust the lid up as well. Oh yeah, nice and smooth, looks good. Now we can turn this around and finish the top and put the finial in. We just have to be careful is all. The only problem with having to hold it in this is can't turn it much more than 600. I think I like that shape. Before I do anything else, I want to put my 3/8 inch hole in. That's perfect, really. I'm going to continue this process. I'll be at this a little bit. It's going to take me a minute to get everything smoothed out to my liking, and when I'm ready to move on from here, I'll come back. I've got it all sanded up now, so I'm applying some Danish oil. When that dries, I'll put another coat on, and I can do that off the lathe. So now let's move on to the bottom. Okay, I've got the bottom mounted up. Here I've got to be even more careful because leverage is not in my favor. I've got it about as tight as I dare. It's running nice and true. That's a little room, but that ain't a whole lot of room. I usually like to give it a little more than that. That's better. A little more. Anyway, this is going to take a while, so when I get it all sanded up, I'll come back. Okay, so here's that lidded grapefruit box for the live oak finial. It's not quite finished. It's done, except I don't have near enough coats of finish on it. I'm using antique oil, and it takes a number of coats in several days to do, because you can only do a coat a day. So it's going to take me a good 4 or 5 more days to get this completely done. I'll put stills up on my web page and on Instagram, etc. But it's a pretty little box. I think it came out really nice. I love the spalting in this grapefruit. I just really do. And that finial is going to have some amazing chatoyance in it when it gets done too. So I say when it gets done, when it has enough finish on it. So a few more days, but I needed to get this video out. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. What's coming down the pipe, you know, I just really don't know. I never know around here.